Imagine waking up one morning, checking your bank account, and realizing that the truck sitting in your driveway, the one you paid top dollar for just 2 years ago, is now worth significantly less than what you owe on it. That is not a nightmare. That is the reality hitting thousands of Australians right now, and it is happening faster than anyone expected. Ute owners across the country are rushing to sell, trade-in values are collapsing, and dealership lots are filling up with barely used trucks that nobody seems to want anymore. If you own a Ute, or if you are thinking about buying one, you need to stop whatever you are doing and watch this entire video. Because what is happening in the Australian Ute market right now could cost you tens of thousands of dollars if you are not paying attention. Welcome to the Drive Intel. I'm so glad you're here today because this is one of those videos that could genuinely save you a serious amount of money. Before we go any further, if you have not already hit that subscribe button, please do it right now. We cover the Australian and global car market with the kind of honest, research-backed content that your dealership absolutely does not want you to see. Hit like as well if you appreciate real talk about what is actually going on out there. Okay, let us get into this. To understand why Australians are panic selling their Utes right now, we need to go back a few years. During the COVID pandemic, something strange happened in the automotive world. Supply chains collapsed, semiconductor chips became impossible to find. Car manufacturers around the world had to slow down or completely halt production. Suddenly, new vehicles were scarce, and buyers who had been waiting for months were being told their new Ute would not arrive for another 12 to 18 months. That kind of wait time created an almost artificial sense of demand. People who had never really thought about buying a Ute started buying them because they were available, or because used prices had climbed so high that a new one was suddenly the better deal. Dealerships were charging over the recommended retail price. People were paying premiums of $5,000, $10,000, sometimes even $15,000 just to get their hands on a new Ute. It was a seller's paradise, and buyers had basically no leverage at all. But here is the thing about artificial demand. It never lasts. And what goes up in an unsustainable way always comes down, usually harder than people expect. Fast forward to today, and the picture looks completely different. Supply chains have largely recovered. Manufacturers are producing vehicles at normal rates again. New Utes are sitting on dealership floors with wait times that have dropped from over a year down to just a few weeks in many cases. And here is where it gets really painful for current Ute owners. Because all those people who bought at the peak of the market, who paid inflated prices during the shortage, are now trying to sell or trade in their vehicles at a time when the market has completely shifted. The trade-in values being offered right now are shocking people. We are talking about vehicles that were bought for $65,000, $70,000, even $80,000 2 or 3 years ago, now being valued at trade-in for $40,000 to $45,000. That is a potential loss of $20,000 or more in just a couple of years. Now, you might be wondering, which specific Utes are we talking about here? And let us get specific, because this is not affecting all Utes equally. The models that are seeing the steepest drops and the most panic selling right now are the ones that were most overhyped during the shortage era. The Ford Ranger, which is Australia's best-selling vehicle, saw its used prices skyrocket during COVID. Buyers were paying near new prices for second-hand Rangers with high kilometers on the clock. Today, that bubble has popped. Used Ranger prices have softened considerably, and trade-in offers are leaving owners stunned. The Toyota HiLux is in a similar boat. The HiLux has always been one of the most beloved Utes in Australia, and that loyalty pushed prices to insane levels during the shortage. Now the correction is hitting HiLux owners hard too. Then there are the American-style big Utes that started becoming popular in Australia over the last few years. Vehicles like the Ram 1500 and the LDV T60 attracted buyers who wanted something different, something more powerful or more affordable. Some of those buyers are now discovering that resale value on lesser-known brands or gray import vehicles is considerably harder to predict, and right now it is trending downward. Even the Mitsubishi Triton and the Isuzu D-Max, which had strong followings and solid reputations, are not immune to what is happening across the broader Ute segment. So why is this happening so fast and so dramatically? There are actually several forces all hitting at the same time, and when multiple pressures collide like this, the results tend to be more severe than any single factor would create on its own. The first major factor is interest rates. The Reserve Bank of Australia raised interest rates aggressively over the past couple of years in an attempt to control inflation. For Ute buyers, this is doubly painful. It means the finance repayments on their current Ute are higher than they were when they bought it, in some cases, especially on variable rate finance deals. And it means that potential buyers looking at the used market are being quoted higher repayments, which reduces their willingness to pay top dollar. When buyers can afford less, sellers get offered less. It is that simple. The second factor is the cost of living crisis. Australians are under enormous financial pressure right now. Grocery bills are up, Rent and mortgage repayments are up, energy bills are up, fuel prices, while they have dipped slightly from their worst peaks, are still significantly higher than people were used to paying before 2021. A large petrol or diesel ute suddenly feels like a luxury that many households can no longer justify. People who stretched their budget to buy a premium ute during the boom years are now realizing that running that vehicle month after month is eating into money they simply do not have. So they are selling, not because they want to, but because they financially need to. The third factor is electric vehicles and the changing sentiment around them. This one is a little more complex and controversial, but it is absolutely part of the story. Australia has been slow to embrace electric vehicles compared to some other markets, but that is changing. The ute segment is about to get disrupted in a big way. The Ford Ranger PHEV has arrived. Electric utes from Chinese manufacturers are entering the Australian market at prices that are making people stop and think. And globally, Ford's F-150 Lightning and other electric trucks are showing the world that the ute segment is not immune to electrification. Smart buyers who are looking at a used ute today are factoring in how that vehicle will hold its value over the next 3 to 5 years. And if you believe electric utes are coming in a serious way, you have to question the long-term resale value of a diesel ute you are buying today. That uncertainty is cooling demand from sophisticated buyers, which again puts downward pressure on prices. The fourth factor is oversupply. And this is the one that perhaps explains the panic element most directly. During the shortage, people who could get their hands on a ute were buying them as investments. Some people bought utes with the explicit intention of flipping them for a profit a few months later. Others simply knew that their vehicle was holding or gaining value, so there was no rush to sell. Now that sentiment has flipped entirely, people who have been sitting on utes waiting for prices to recover are starting to realize the recovery may not come, at least not to the levels they were hoping for. So instead of waiting, they are selling now. But when everyone tries to sell at the same time, supply floods the market and prices fall even further. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle of declining values, which is why the word panic is genuinely appropriate here. Now, here is something that the Drive Intel really wants you to think carefully about, because this is where a lot of people make their biggest mistake. When prices start falling like this, the temptation is to panic right alongside everyone else. But panic is rarely the right financial response to any situation. The question you need to ask yourself is not what the market is doing. The question is, what is the right move for your specific situation? If you own a ute and you genuinely need it for work, if it is earning you money or enabling your income, then the resale value right now is almost irrelevant. You did not buy a work tool as a financial investment. The value it provides to your livelihood is not reflected in a trade-in quote. Selling into a falling market and then having to replace that ute with something else that also costs money makes no logical sense in that scenario. However, if you bought a ute as a lifestyle vehicle, if it is a dual cab that mostly sits in a suburban driveway and does a camping trip once or twice a year, then the calculus is very different. You're paying to run a large, thirsty vehicle. You're potentially on finance that is costing you more than it did. And if you are hoping to trade up or access the equity in your vehicle, the window to do that at a good price may already be closing. In that case, having an honest conversation about what the vehicle is actually costing you each month versus what you're getting from it could genuinely save you a lot of money over the next 2 to 3 years. Let us also talk about the buying side, because for some people watching this right now, this situation is actually good news. If you have been wanting to buy a ute but felt priced out during the crazy market of the past few years, welcome back. The landscape is shifting in your favor. Trade-in prices dropping means private sellers and dealers are more motivated to negotiate. Wait times on new vehicles are shorter, which means you have more leverage with dealers who are no longer able to charge above sticker price. In some cases, you can actually negotiate below recommended retail price now, which felt impossible just 18 months ago. If you are a cash buyer or someone with solid finance pre-approval, this moment in the market is genuinely one of the better times to buy a quality used ute at a reasonable price that we have seen in several years. That said, there are things you need to watch out for. Not every deal in a falling market is a good deal. Some private sellers are trying to offload vehicles at prices that are still above current market value, counting on buyers not being up to date with how much things have shifted. Always check recent comparable sales before making an offer. Use resources like Redbook and carsales.com market insights to understand what vehicles in similar condition and with similar kilometers are actually selling for right now, not what people are asking, but what the market is accepting. There is sometimes a significant gap between those two numbers in a fast-moving market. Also pay close attention to the finance situation on any used ute you're considering buying privately. Some sellers right now are in a position where they owe more on their loan than the vehicle is currently worth. That is called negative equity, and it can create legal complications if the sale is not handled correctly. Always do a PPSR check in Australia before buying any used vehicle privately. This is a government register that will tell you if there is money owing on the vehicle. It costs less than $10 and it can save you from an absolute nightmare scenario. What does the next 12 to 24 months look like for the Australian ute market? This is where it gets genuinely interesting and honestly a little uncertain. Most analysts and market watchers believe that we are not at the bottom yet. The forces that are driving prices down, interest rates, cost of living pressure, oversupply, and the shadow of electrification, none of those have fully resolved themselves. Interest rates may begin to come down if inflation stays controlled, and that could provide some relief to the market. But even if rates drop, the adjustment tends to be gradual and the effect on vehicle prices takes time to flow through. The oversupply issue is likely to persist for at least another year as the market absorbs all the vehicles being released right now. The electric ute question is the biggest wildcard. If Australian-specific electric utes arrive and prove themselves capable and affordable in the next 2 to 3 years, the impact on diesel ute residuals could be significant. If the electric revolution stalls or turns out to be less applicable to the Australian market than enthusiasts hope, traditional utes may hold their value better than the pessimists are predicting. Either way, the uncertainty itself is already affecting buyer behavior, which tells you something important about the direction of travel. Here at the Drive Intel, we believe the most important thing anyone can do right now is be informed rather than emotional. The people who panic sell and take enormous losses are doing so because they feel scared and they have not taken the time to analyze their actual situation clearly. The people who buy the wrong vehicle at the wrong price are doing so because they let excitement or impatience override careful research. Neither of those outcomes is inevitable if you take the time to understand what is actually happening in the market and why. If this video has given you a clearer picture of what is going on with Australian utes right now, please do us a favor and drop a comment down below. We would genuinely love to know what you think. Are you a ute owner feeling the pressure right now? Have you already sold or traded in and regretted it? Or are you sitting on the sidelines waiting for the right moment to buy? Tell us your situation in the comments, because your experience helps everyone in this community make better decisions. And if you know someone who owns a ute or is thinking about buying one, please share this video with them. It could literally save them thousands of dollars, and that is not an exaggeration. Make sure you are subscribed to the Drive Intel so you do not miss our next deep dive into what is happening in the Australian and global automotive market. We are watching the numbers, tracking the trends, and bringing you honest analysis that cuts through the noise. Hit that notification bell so you're always the first to know when we drop something new. We will see you in the next one.